We have a celebrity in our midst these days. Kitty Carlisle Hart is in town. She's appearing on the Illinois Wesleyan campus for students and, in fact, had an opportunity, at least on one occasion, to meet with the general public. Let me say it's a pleasure to have you in Bloomington Normal.
Thank you very much. I'm delighted to be here.
I hope you like your stay while you're here.
Oh, I know I will. I love the hotel already.
You're over at one of the nice hotels that this town is becoming famous for, I guess.
Yes.
And, well, it's a pleasure to have you here. You're a visiting artist on the Wesleyan campus. They do this from time to time.
Yes.
And
nice Mrs. Melba Kirkpatrick does this series. And I think it's a very good idea because it gives the students a chance to meet with people who've done what they hope to do. Some of them to a lesser or greater degree. I've noticed that they've had Helen Hayes here and people like that. And I'm delighted to be able to share what I can with the students.
The chances that students do have to meet people, I guess, are maybe on the increase in some cases. Maybe getting a lesson these days is easier than it was years ago. I'm not sure, although you had a chance to study in a number of countries, didn't you?
Yes. Well, I was brought up in Europe, and I had a chance to have a very good education, although I stopped school fairly early. But, you know, the museums and the concert halls and the people I met in Europe were my colleges. Mm-hmm. And to tell you the truth, I think I'm better educated than my children who went to Harvard. I speak 4 languages.
Wow.
And you know, we were educated differently in those days.
I don't get a chance to talk to a person who has a theater named after them, but that's the...
Thank you for mentioning it.
That's in Albany, New York, isn't it?
Yeah, I was very pleased. It's the State Theater in Albany, and they've named it after me.
I have to tell you, I grew up watching you, I guess, because I was a fan of I've Got a Secret, and, of course, You Bet Your...
The Truth?
To tell the truth, I was going to say You Bet Your Life, but that's Groucho's show.
Yeah.
But you had a chance to work with Groucho as well.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Anybody who has ever seen... the movie that's rated the highest as far as the Marx Brothers are concerned is A Night at the Opera. And
it's supposed to be a classic, and I think it is. It holds up very well.
You couldn't sing a little bit of Alone for me, could you?
It's a duet for one voice.
A duet for one voice.
Alone. Alone. Yes, it's not easy to sing.
Oh, that was a wonderful film.
Yeah, it really was.
What was it like working with the Marx Brothers?
They were very serious for the movie. They had already taken this show up and down the West Coast in order to prune the jokes and organize the business. They had taken it very seriously. So by the time they hit the cameras, it was very well planned. It wasn't, they didn't invent it as they went along. And therefore, I think that's one of the reasons that it is a classic.
And yet we hear that the Marx Brothers were so zany that they were tough for a director to get on the set all at once.
No, not in A Night at the Opera. First place, George Kaufman, who had written most of the script, was the dialogue director. And he didn't suffer the shenanigans easily. So they towed the mark with him. And they were courteous and charming, and we became good friends.
Yeah.
In fact, I toured a little bit later after A Night at the Opera, and I think one more movie. They were sort of finished in Hollywood, and Chico had organized one of those big bands, to tour in vaudeville, and I went with him for about 3 weeks.
And actually, he was quite a musician, I guess.
I don't think so. No, I think...
Okay.
All right, we're being very good trick.
We're being too kind, maybe. A great gambler is maybe what he was.
That's right. He was a great gambler, and he liked the ladies.
And being a great gambler, he also lost a lot of money. I'm told.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I guess some of the Marx Brothers did like the ladies. Groucho was supposedly a person who read an awful lot, and probably
Groucho was very nice, and he was also very sweet. But Harpo was the one that the intellectual group in New York liked. People like George and Moss and Alexander Wolcott. He was friends with them, and people with the round table. That famous Algonquin round table.
Oh, yeah. Well, someone once said, I think it was George Behrens, they didn't call Groucho for nothing. He was not the easiest.
No, he wasn't the easiest man in the world.
To get along with. You were married to very famous playwright, director, Moss Hart.
That's right.
And, you have a lot of things to talk about when you talk to young people, don't you?
Well, yes, I do, because I can tell them about how Morse got started and how I got started, and it's interesting. I tell you, the worst thing, though, that I have to face when I talk to young people is they always want to know how to get a job. And I never know how anybody ever gets started in the theater because it's catch-22. You need an agent. The agent says, when you do something, I'll come and see you. Well, how do you get in the play if you don't have an agent to put you in the play?
We want a young person with experience.
That's right.
Yeah.
And I mean, it really is awful. I don't know how anybody ever gets started, but they do somehow.
Yeah, sometimes people just fall into it, too, don't they?
Well, not so much anymore.
No?
They used to in the old days.
You have to really, I guess you really have to love it, and then...
and you have to be very persevering.
Yeah, but how do you do that without being pushy?
You have to be pushy.
Okay. Women, now I know you're concerned about the role of women in society.
Yeah.
I'm the father of 2 young daughters, and I hope that the world treats them a little more fairly than maybe women have been treated.
Oh, they will. I tell you, my daughter, who is now 40, was of the generation where all those girls were at the starting post, you know, like horses, and they lifted the gates, and my dear, they were off. Her contemporaries are lawyers. She's a physician, a very distinguished physician in New York.
We all remember those days. Well, you wouldn't go to a lady doctor, goodness.
No, but my dear, she can't handle all her patients.
Great.
And she's got a lot of men, and they're all heads of their own whatever. All her contemporaries, and I'm very happy for that because it gives women a chance. And also, I think one thing is changing now. There's no onus anymore about staying home and taking care of your children if you want to.
You don't have to feel guilty.
The women's movement, I think a lot of girls felt guilty if they didn't want to go out into the world and work and wanted to stay home and take care of their kids. But there's no onus on that now. It's highly respected.
And of course, society wonders sometimes: are we spending enough time with our kids? I think maybe fathers feel more guilty about it now.
Well, I think they should. I think fathers never did spend enough time with their children. They'd come home tired, retire behind the newspaper, and say to the wife, "You take care of it." And I was lucky because I had a husband who worked at home, and he was very much part of the family life.
Do you? I wonder how this happened. I had a chance to talk with Orson Bean, and I know he was a panelist on one of those shows.
I see him all the time. He's back along with me.
Yeah.
We're both back.
Well, how is it that certain people work out well on those kind of shows and others don't? Is there we're talking about getting into show business. How in the world do you get on one of those shows?
I thought about it a lot because I wondered why, as you say, some people are good at it and some people aren't. I think it requires a combination of things. I think it requires a vast fund of knowledge so that you can question the contestants about almost every facet of work and science and history and theater and everything.
Now we're talking about to tell the truth, aren't we?
Yes. And then you have to also be show busy because you have to know how to make a joke. And you also have to know how to not step on the other guy's joke when he's beginning to make one. So that you have to know something about show business, and you have to be very knowledgeable. And it's a not always an easy combination.
This business of being personable in public is different than it is in private life also, isn't it?
Yeah, it is different. And you have to be able to bring that dimension to the screen. We have had an awful lot of tries for very young people, but they can't play the game. Unfortunately, or fortunately for me.
You've never really sweated having to find a job. I take it you've been very fortunate, and it's because of talent.
I'm telling the kids today, I think if you want to get ahead and you want to have steady work, you have to have a lot of strings to your bow. I got ahead, and I kept working because I could sing, I could act, I could dance a little. I wore clothes well. I had a good figure. And, and so I could sing with big bands. I sang a lot in nightclubs.
But you also did opera, too, didn't you?
And I did opera. And I kept myself, ready. I studied every day. I practiced all my scales. And when the opera offer came, I was ready.
I guess, yeah, that's if you don't have what it takes when the time is there. You can all. That's got to be very depressing to watch it just go fade away.
Oh, I know, just because you didn't keep it up.
Yeah. You know, that's one of the things about this business. I've had a chance to talk to so many people over something like 20 years,
Yes.
and I've seen they all make it look so easy, like they just like they're real people, and I guess I like that. But at the same time, you wonder why. You know, what is it about this person that really makes them so interesting that the public would be interested in them for so long? And it's hard to put your finger on it.
I have no answer for that.
Mm-hmm.
I don't really know.
Well, I want to again say thank you for spending a little time.
I'm delighted to talk to you, and I love you because you've done your homework.
Well, I wondered if you'd ever played Bloomington before. I know the Marx Brothers came through town, and
Did they really?
I used to play at one of the vaudeville houses that was here in town, and
No kidding.
I didn't know how much you'd actually done along that kind of thing.
I don't think so.
Mm-hmm.
No.
We had an opera house too, but years ago there was an opera house, but I think it was more of a vaudeville house than an opera house, to tell you the truth.
Yeah. No, I sung opera in Salt Lake City. I did Carmen, and I did the Met, and I sang that whole season, and then I did the tour. And but they didn't. The Metropolitan Opera never came to Bloomington.
Okay. Well, I hope this is just maybe the first of many trips, if you like it here.
Good. Good to talk to you.
If you don't like it, then I hope you don't have to come back.
No, I'm having a very good time.
That's terrific.
Okay.
Kitty Carlisle, Hart, thank you very much.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.